In this Corecon training video, we begin to explore a feature found under the HR module for employee miscellaneous expenses. That can be found by going from the main menu down to HR, and under Timecard and Expense Stats, you'll see the features for miscellaneous expenses. The purpose of the miscellaneous expense feature is to record project expenditures when standard purchase orders are not feasible. For example, miscellaneous expenses may occur when an employee purchases fuel for their truck and uses a credit card or cash. Miscellaneous expenses can be used to record employee out-of-pocket expenses or employee reimbursements for corporate credit cards and corporate debit cards. Corecon provides several ways of recording project expenditures. For example, POs and bills, subcontracts, subcontract change orders, and sub-invoices. For everything else, Corecon provides miscellaneous expenses. Miscellaneous expense payments can be shown as an employee reimbursement to a checking account, corporate credit cards to a credit card liability account, corporate debit cards to a corporate checking. In Corecon's project analytics, miscellaneous expenses appear under both committed cost and cost to date sections. Miscellaneous expense status options include draft, pending submission, pending, not approved, and approved. For cost plus prime contracts, miscellaneous expenses that are marked billable can be imported into a prime contract invoice. Once a miscellaneous expense has been marked approved, it can be exported to an accounting system using the Corecon Link utility. There's a few things that you'll want to complete before processing miscellaneous expenses. First, make sure that your company is listed in the project directory. An employee must be referenced in the miscellaneous expense contact field. Make sure that the prime contract referenced on the miscellaneous expense is approved and has a status date. In the prime contract, job cost codes are required when entering miscellaneous expenses. Remember that a tax code may be referenced, therefore your tax code should be set up in Corecon's global settings under company settings. There's another video following this one that's going to add to this information and explain how to add and import miscellaneous expenses. There are several settings that affect miscellaneous expense entry. To find those, let's go to the global settings and then to company settings, and first point out that a master cost code list is optionally added to global settings, but the cost codes should be referenced in the project and prime contract. If you record taxation as a separate column on miscellaneous expenses, those should be set up and should correlate to the taxes in your accounting software. Employees are referenced on every miscellaneous expense, so your company employees should also be set up in Corecon. Next, we'll go to feature settings and to time and expenses. And then we'll scroll down to miscellaneous expense types. Miscellaneous expense types are optional. They're user-defined types and can be used to categorize miscellaneous expenses. Miscellaneous expenses can be grouped and filtered based on the record in this list and when printing log reports. Corecon has likely included several examples of miscellaneous expense types if you're just setting up your account for the first time. Miscellaneous expense types do not affect any of the payment types, which we'll discuss in a moment. If you'd like to replace some of these groups or categories, you can click the delete button. You can edit or add. The next setting is the miscellaneous expense payment types. Unlike miscellaneous expense types, miscellaneous expense payment types are required when entering miscellaneous expenses. This field also impacts how transactions are sent to your accounting system using the Corecon Link utility. Corecon has provided several examples in your account, but these can also be edited. You can add new or delete existing. When entering a miscellaneous expense, Corecon asks whether the expense is an employee reimbursement or a reimbursement to a company. Next, it asks how the expense was paid for, so including corporate credit cards and debit cards, as well as methods of employee payment, are appropriate. When including corporate credit cards and corporate debit cards, when entering a corporate credit card, remember that each payment type that you add corresponds to a credit card liability account on your general ledger. Each debit card included as a miscellaneous expense payment type corresponds to a checking account or where that debit card is paid from. Employee reimbursements reference the employee name from the employee profile, but do not affect taxable income. When these end up in your accounting system, these are usually paid through a checking account, and when setting this up in the Corecon Link utility, you can designate which checking account those payments are made from. Note there's a similar feature in the procurement settings for bill types. Some of this information can be also entered as bills, and for that reason, miscellaneous expense payment types and bill types may be identical. Remember that miscellaneous expense payment type options cannot be deleted if it is referenced on an employee miscellaneous expense record. The examples that Corecon provided for you when you opened your account should be edited and customized to suit your company's needs. Note that if you go to the Corecon settings under workflow, there is also a workflow approval process for miscellaneous expenses included here as well. This is an optional process and is usually not set up early in the implementation process. Back to Corecon Home and back to the HR module. If you'd like to know more about the information in this training video, we encourage you to go to the knowledge base, to human resources, down to employee miscellaneous expenses, and review the articles under employee miscellaneous expense and credit card setup.